Bonjour, this is Bertrand from My Private Paris, a boutique agency specialized in tailored tours and custom itineraries. 10 years ago, I started giving tours around Paris, and it's been quite a journey ever since. In 2015, with other local guides, we created our own company, My Private Paris, with one single promise: experience Paris with the finest local guides. Check us out on myprivateparis.com. We'll help you plan your next trip to Paris. Voila, today I want to share with you guys the most important information about a place I love very much, Versailles. In this video, I will tell you everything there is to know about it, from what is there to see, how to get there, what you should plan on doing in a half day, in a full day, and from which part to visit first to how to make your trip to Versailles a lifetime memory. And if you feel royal enough, Versailles will treat you like royalty, and so will we. Check for the end of this video, we have amazing ways to experience Versailles in very private and unique ways. But let's get started with one big question. What is Versailles? Versailles is just the most important palace in French history. This is where the French monarchy has lived its most glorious days as much as its last days. Actually, it was built as a hunting lodge for a king who lived in Paris, but didn't want to spend too much time with the rest of the courtiers in Paris. So he built this beautiful lodge outside the city. Ultimately, Versailles became a royal palace under King Louis XIV, who we love to call here the Sun King, and it transformed a hunting lodge into the Palace of Wonders that you guys can visit today. But Versailles is also a town. It's located actually 15 miles away from Notre Dame in Paris, and it's quite a journey to go there. The idea was really to be isolated in the woods away from the court, to have a maximum privacy and also to be able to do pretty much whatever they wanted. Versailles is now a huge palace. There are over 3,000 rooms. Only 1,000 are open to the public, including the most famous of them all, the Hall of Mirrors. But Versailles is also an amazing estate covering more than 2,000 acres of amazing landscape, from glorious groves with fountains and marble statues to a huge park where you can ride bicycles, go on boats, but also more private section for the king and for the queen, including the famous Queen Marie Antoinette hamlet, built as a farm to be away from the crowd once again. Now, many of you ask, how do we get to Versailles? You understand Versailles is not in Paris. There are many ways. I would talk mostly about two ways. Number one, you can take public trains from various stops in Paris. It will take you roughly 40-50 minutes to get there. And then you have a nice 15-minute walk from the train station in Versailles all the way to the palace gate. The second way to get there, obviously, would be by car. Depending from where you depart in Paris, it will take from 30 to 45 minutes on the highway and then through the countryside, including going through the town of Versailles, which is absolutely a must when you go there. Another important topic at Versailles is how much time should you plan for visiting this place. Once again, 3,000 rooms, 2,000 acres, it's big. So here are 4 ways you could plan your visit to Versailles. Number 1 is a half day where you stick to the essential: the royal palace with the king's apartment, the Hall of Mirrors, and the queen's apartment, and then a stroll through the garden. Okay? It will take you about 3 hours on site. Great half day. Second option for a half day at Versailles would be to stay outdoors. So you would visit, of course, the courtyards of the palace, but also the royal garden, including the fountains and the statues. And why not go all the way to the Queen's estate to visit the beautiful garden of Queen Marie Antoinette and her hamlet. That will fill a half day for sure. Now, if we think about a full day to Versailles, and I think that's my favorite option, you would have time in the morning to visit the royal palace, go through the Hall of Mirrors, the Queen's chambers, spend a bit of time in the garden, have a snack, have a lunch there. There's a beautiful Grand Canal where it's perfect to have a pizza, a salad, you name it, and then spend the afternoon by the Queen's estate, including a private home known as Petit Trianon, but also the hamlet, which is a real hidden gem at Versailles. Combining all of this, that will make a great full day there. And the second way to spend a full day at Versailles would be to also spend some time in the Old Town. The best food market in the entire Paris region is the food market of Versailles. It's open 6 days a week. That's really great. Anytime you can go, spend the morning there, buy some food, go through the garden, have a lunch, a picnic, and at the end of the day, visit the royal palace, get the sunlight into the Hall of Mirror that's facing west, and avoid the crowds. Now, if you ask me how much time I would like to spend at Versailles, I would take as much as possible, because there are other museums, there are great sites, great historical sites at Versailles. There's the Musée Lambinet, there's the site where the American independence was actually signed. There are other parks, there are other gardens, there are other palaces, and beautiful boutique hotels, very, very tasty restaurants too. So think about Versailles both as a museum to visit, but also as a true destination outside of Paris. In my 10 years as a guide, I've been asked many times, but when should we visit Versailles? Is the morning better? Is the afternoon better? Well, here are the answers. Morning are great if you can enter early. There are two ways to enter early. Be there way before it opens. Palace opens at 9. If you're there at 8, you'll be the first one inside. Second way to be inside the palace early is to go with a guide, because we have specific entrances. If you book in advance, we can buy early tickets. But if you can't get into the palace in the early morning, second best option would be at lunchtime. All the big groups are going to be away, most people are going to have lunch, so it's also a great moment to visit the palace with much less people inside. And the third option is to be last in the palace. It closes between 6 and 6:30. Be aware that at 6:30 it's closed, so they will push you out way before that. But if you plan on getting inside around 4 p.m, that's also a great moment. You will have at least an hour and a half to enjoy the place. And why not be the very last person in all the rooms? And it's priceless. Regarding the fountains, they don't work all the time. That could not be possible. So fountains only work in the spring and summertime, from April till October, and they work on weekends only for an hour in the morning and an hour and a half in the afternoon. Don't expect the fountains to be running at all times. They were never built to be running at all times. But let us plan your trip to Versailles so you will see that happening. But what about days of the week? Is it busiest on a certain day versus another? Well, the answer is yes. And the busiest day in the whole week is actually Tuesday. Why is that? Because the Louvre is closed on Tuesday. So most groups are going to visit Versailles on Tuesday when the Louvre is closed. Second busiest day are Saturdays. So if you can plan your trip to Versailles on any day of the week, you should plan either Sundays or Thursday, Fridays are great days too. Oh, Versailles is closed on Mondays. Don't try to go that day. Alright, now it's time to share also some fun facts about Versailles. Did you know that 3 kings have lived there, but with over 80 mistresses in just 100 years? Since the 1830s, Versailles is actually a public museum. It is no longer a royal residence. We don't have kings anymore. It's one of the major museums in France with over 80,000 art pieces. Among them, you will find more than 6,000 paintings or 400 chandeliers. That's quite a lot to see in one day, right? During the construction of Versailles, over 36,000 people would work on a single day building the palace of the Sun King. And at the peak of its glory, Versailles would accommodate 7,000 courtiers. That's how we call people living at court with the king. Nowadays, you can count on looking through 2,000 windows, walking up 50 flights of stairs, and in the winter, warm up the palace with 151 chimneys. Now, I've said it a little bit before, but actually there are not just one, but 3 palaces to visit in Versailles. Number 1 is the Royal Palace, the grand one, with these thousands of rooms and the Hall of Mirror. Number 2 is the Grand Trianon. This was built as a private residence for King Louis XIV, one of his mistresses, and their 7 children. Number 3 is known as Le Petit Trianon, and the most famous owner of that place was Queen Marie Antoinette, who spent the last years of the French monarchy there with her children. Well, all of that is more than enough for at least 8 million visitors a year at Versailles. It's true that it can feel crowded if you don't know when, where, or with who to go, but with 2,000 acres, 3,000 rooms, there's room for everyone, especially if you know where to go. Alright guys, it's time for me now to share the secrets on how to have the ultimate royal treat at Versailles. And there are a few ways. First of all, the private apartment of the king for he and the royal family is actually now open for the public, but only with specific guides and on specific time. You won't find anyone but just you, your party, and your guide in this apartment. That is priceless. Versailles was also a very famous place for its stables. They are gigantic structure with amazing horses, and nowadays they allow for private tours to take you there and have actually a private dressage show with the horses and the cavalier of the royal stables of Versailles. I've told you also that the palace closes at 6:30 p.m. but actually it stays open a little bit more for after hours visits. Well, that's quite a treat. It's expensive, but it's you and you only in the palace of Versailles, just like you were the king. The king's never alone at Versailles, courtiers, but also his family. So if you want to treat your family to a royal day out in Versailles, there are also ways to arrange this with horse riding, bike riding, boat riding in the park, and even helicopter riding. Alright, last secret, but not the least, Versailles also hosts amazing shows. There's the Royal Opera of Versailles. It was built for the wedding of Marie Antoinette and Louis XVI. It's been 10 years that the Royal Opera of Versailles has reopened, and last year they had 100 shows. From Swan Lake to the Magic Flute, you could find amazing plays, amazing operas, or amazing ballets to watch in the Royal Opera in Versailles. And why not by the very seat of the king? In the summertime, Versailles also opens late on Saturday night. You have amazing fountain show with lights, fireworks, plays in the gardens, costume parties. Knowing all of this, what are you waiting for, guys? Come on, let's get to Versailles. Voilà guys, thank you for watching. I think you're now more than ready to visit Versailles. Let us know in the comments if you'd like to hear more stories about Versailles, if you're interested in the place, and also all the questions you have, which I don't have given an answer to yet. Also, if you'd like to hear more tips and secrets about Paris, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and remember to check our website, myprivateparis.com, to find more information about our tours and also plan a one-on-one travel planning session for free. À bientôt!